Niner.
Super Bowl. The Super Bowl Birds Bracket Coverage Podcast post Super Bowl. I'm Danny Mez. I'm here with Ryan. And it was an awesome weekend for me. I was out there on Broad Street. I was watching the game. And I'm very happy that this is a game that I was able to not watch fully. I left with a couple minutes left in the fourth. Um, to get down to Broad Street, take the subway. It was an awesome time. Um, it was an awesome game. Ryan, tell me about your Super Bowl experience. What was your Sunday like?
It
And
really wasn't
we'll
anything
get into it.
special. Just went over to a friend's house, watched the game. I thought I was gonna have people over, but hit a little switcheroo like the day of, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was a fun time. Um, yeah, it's nice to be on the other end of like a boring game, and actually be able to enjoy a blowout. Um, as fun as exciting Super Bowls are, don't get me wrong. I was relishing in the fact that I never thought the Chiefs were going to win the game at any point.
I was relishing in the fact that I had this outcome predicted months ago. I can officially say it. I predicted this entire NFL season. Bang. Yeah. I
we
wonder
got
what
the
the odds were on
we got the
that.
goat analyst on this show.
On Bracket Coverage Podcast. Yeah. For all of our viewers, like
You should have future bet that.
should have.
That's free
Should have
bread.
put one up.
Wait.
It would have been. It would have been. I cannot bet though with my
Oh, you're right.
NFL employment.
You're also in
I'm not.
Philadelphia. I don't think you'd be able to bet on the Eagles anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that. I don't even know how
Unless
it
you drive to
works.
Jersey, I have no idea. I think that's a thing.
I have no idea how it works, but NFL does not permit me to gamble of any
They're gonna
sort.
shoot you into the sun like was it Jonte Porter, the NBA
Yeah,
guy?
or no, yeah. There's Jonte Porter. There's who was the wide receiver? Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we'll keep it Eagles. Isaiah Rodgers Sr.
He had
He bet it.
he
He
was an
bet on
important
himself.
contributor. Yeah, he really dude. Oh my god, the locker room afterwards was hilarious.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. 40-22 was the final score, and I mean, what were our predictions? I can pull up my notes right now.
I had 27-21.
27-21. I think I had it being a closer game because I mean, as much belief as I had in the Eagles, I wasn't gonna throw out a prediction of an 18-point win in the Super Bowl.
And it was a lot worse than that.
It was. It should have been. Should be 40-6, but whatever. My final prediction was 30-24. So actually, not not the worst. Not the worst thing. Not the worst prediction I've seen. I'm talking about you, Nick, right? Um,
Dude.
lot to love about this. We mentioned it, just in our text messages and just talking, you and me. Uh, almost 37 minutes in time of possession, especially with these two teams that love to hold on to the ball. Like, yeah, you're gonna win. You're gonna win the Super Bowl like that. What I really loved was Kenny Pickett getting Super Bowl snaps before Dak Prescott, so we could put that to bed.
We
Um,
got a Gatorade bath with 4 minutes left in the game.
Dude,
like
that was great. My favorite part was like people saying that Xavier Worthy touchdown. Um, was like this is just stat padding. Like they already dumped the Gatorade before this
yeah.
touchdown even happened. Um, love that. I loved. There was so much to love about this game for me, for Chiefs fans. It's a bummer. It's definitely a bummer.
I will
Uh,
say, like looking at just being a pure box score watcher for a second, Mahomes' stat line doesn't look that egregious, but like he
that's
still
how he
had the
tricked you.
he still had the worst QBR in any playoff game this year, and he finishes with 257 and 3 touchdowns, and he threw like 150 of those to Xavier Worthy in the last like quarter. So
Yeah, he threw half of those when the game was done,
yeah,
when the result
no
was already
chance.
pretty much locked up. Speaking of locked up, Travis Kelsey had 4 catches for 39 yards. Absolute stinker. He tried, poking at everyone on the Eagles defense, and no one bit the bait. But CJ Gardner Johnson made sure to not forget about that after the game. He had some comments that I won't dive too deep into. He had some crazy comments, but Juju Smith-Schuster, I think I said he might, do a little something. He didn't. Um, he had 2 catches for 16 yards.
I think you could kind of
DeAndre
say that
Hopkins.
for everyone on the Chiefs roster.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins had he had a lot going on. But as far as good things, he had 2 catches for 18 yards.
When he
Yeah,
dropped that pass at the end of the first half, I knew there was no chance they were coming back. Like that
dude,
sealed the deal for me.
I got up out of my chair and I was like, damn, they just got the first down. And when I saw he dropped it, I was like, dude,
He
just euphoric feeling.
he was never a run after the catch guy. Don't get me wrong, and he's like over 30 now, but like in his day, he's catching that and he's turning up the sideline. There's no in his area code, and he's like
Yeah,
sliding to the ground and he drops it. Just brutal stuff.
brutal stuff. I mean, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, all week. So a part of my scouting process and just any pregame stuff the week before, I like to look at the other team's media. So, these last 2 weeks, I've been going into Chiefs media. What are the Chiefs talking about? What do the Chiefs feel good about? And what do they predict being, some weapons for their team? And all week, I actually saw a large amount of confidence in Isaiah Pacheco because a couple interviews he said he feels back to his old self. He feels 100% for the first time since coming back from his injury, which I doubt, by the way.
Yeah,
It was a bad injury, but I don't think it was that. I think he's probably been healthy for a good bit now. And he had 3 carries, and so did Kareem Hunt, and they had a combined 26 yards. Um, I I don't know why they didn't run the ball at all. Now I didn't expect them to run the ball at all. That's what they've been doing all year. They control the game with their passing, short passes, and work their way up the field like that. But I did expect a little more than 26 combined rushing yards. That was something that I felt pretty good about because the two main focuses in the Chiefs media that I saw was Isaiah Pacheco being back and stopping Saquon, which you know they did stop Saquon. I'll give them credit there. But other than that, just not a lot to look at
it
for the
just
Kansas City side of the box score.
it
Now,
just
Ryan, do you?
it just the whole game they're cutting to the Chiefs sideline and everyone's like flabbergasted, I guess is a fair word. Like it seemed like there was a genuine shock on the Chiefs sideline that they were not prepared for this game. And they really got outclassed in coaching, in actual talent, in executing on the field. Every facet of the game they got outclassed, and they genuinely seemed surprised. I think the only guy who showed up for the Chiefs at all is Xavier Worthy. Um, and even then, it didn't matter. He had like 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half, I think.
Yeah,
Um, they made a concerted effort to shut down Saquon, and everything else did not work out very well for them.
yeah, they overcommitted on Saquon, and you make a good point, which brings me to my main point because we talked about the critique of your Super Bowl MVP. Talked about critique of head coach Nick Sirianni. There's a lot of critique with this Eagles team all year long. All year long, I heard, even throughout the playoffs, as recent as 4 days ago, I was hearing it's a one-man show. This team got carried by Saquon Barkley. This offense is going to hold the team back. Jalen can't throw the ball. Nick Sirianni can't coach. All that stuff. And turns out Nick Sirianni might be able to coach. Jalen Hurts definitely can throw the ball, which I am so incredibly proud of Jalen Hurts. You know this as good as anyone, Ryan. And if anyone has been consistently listening to our show, they know that I have been a huge Jalen Hurts supporter. They know I've supported him since he was in Tuscaloosa. They know I supported him in Oklahoma. And even when people doubted him coming into the league, people didn't like him getting drafted by the Eagles. I always liked him. I've always been a supporter of him. And I'm so happy that he's finally going to get the recognition. Even if people still doubt him a little bit, when they say that name, he's still a Super Bowl MVP. And that is amazing. They said that this offense couldn't get it done. And it's ironic because now everyone in every comment section that I've seen has said that this is the most complete football team that they have ever seen, which is insane to say when you think about what they've been critiquing this team about all year long. I am so happy that this team is getting right because I do think it is the most complete team. I, I mean, the defense played an almost perfect game, really. I don't even care about what Xavier Worthy did. They played a perfect game.
Yeah.
The defensive front on a four-man rush, getting that kind of pressure, incredible. The linebacker unit, Zach Bond got a big interception. The secondary unit, Cooper DeJean pick six. You got was that Avonte Maddox who had that breakup on fourth down?
Yeah.
You had Avonte Maddox. I mean, are you kidding me? Avonte Maddox, big plays. I mean, that's incredible. And then this offense, again, been doubted all postseason. Other than Saquon, everyone got some slack. They critiqued A.J. Brown for reading on the sidelines. Devonta Smith is too skinny. Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. And then they go out there and they scored 145 points this postseason, which is the most in NFL history. No team has ever scored more in one postseason than the Eagles this year. And it's the same year that everyone critiqued this offense. Everyone main concern with this team was the offense. So to see stuff like that, to see the turnover differential that the Eagles had in these playoffs, I'm so proud of this team. I'm so happy. Uh, Things panned out how I expected and more. I mean, I don't think anyone could have anticipated a game like that out of the Eagles. Even even if you anticipated a blowout, I don't even think you could have imagined something this great. And I mean that's my spiel really. I'm so happy. I'm still through the roof.
I I think I will say the revisionist history part on like the quality and build of the team. Um, I was like, not that I was a part of that because I definitely wasn't, but I think my expectation and hope for the team was so high because I had such a microscope on like a bunch of players that people don't look at and don't watch, and you're not expecting to be elite or really good. I look at them on paper and I'm like, this is a good player. This is a good fit for the team. I feel like this team should be really good. And they ended up being really good. So I think the last pod I might have mentioned where like I thought the team was going to be really good, and like I was agreeing with people saying that oh, it's the best team in the league or whatever, and then people continue to. It's a weird like contradictory thing. I think I'm on like like the inverse of what people are saying about how talented the team was. I think I said the team was talented and they still exceeded my expectations, which I think is your angle for sure.
Yeah.
Little pat on the back for myself. Big Super Bowl performances from Milton Williams,
Hmm.
um, on one of my breakout players in the preseason watch list. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble and fumble recovery. And one of my favorite players they drafted this past year, Jalex Hunt, had a really good game. Still trying to get my hands on that Super Bowl jersey. You got contributions in the passing game from Jahan Dotson. Playoff Jahan made an appearance again
Playoff
for the
Jahan.
first time since the Packers wild card game. We had a
Oh yeah.
Johnny Wilson drop. Saquon chipped in 40 receiving yards and he only had 57 rushing. It's kind of fitting. The whole year, it's the narrative that he's carrying the team, and maybe the team isn't that talented. He's so much better. He has a good offensive line, but he's carrying the rest of the unit. And then he doesn't really have to do anything at all in the Super Bowl, and they win with absolute ease. Um, Devontae Smith, another big game against the Chiefs. That ball couldn't have been placed in Smith's hands any better than
Perfect. And it
Jalen
was good
threw it
defense.
50
And it was good
yards.
defense.
My point about Jawan Taylor in the preview was I don't know what the word to say is. He was bad and got destroyed. It was not by Nolan Smith. It was by Josh Sweat for most of the game. And Najee Johnson didn't play in this game, but Jalen Watson was getting beat up pretty bad by A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And Jahan had that catch down in the 1 yard line on Watson,
Yep.
I believe.
Could have easily been a touchdown.
Yeah, very close. You got like almost no shows from Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. Nolan Smith does a lot of stuff that doesn't come up in the box score. He's like set up in that wide 9, setting the edge, blowing up the run whenever the Chiefs actually did run the ball. Just a really, I almost got my Moro Ajomo sack. He had a really nice tackle for loss. I'm just patting myself on the back here for the most part. And shout out Jake Elliott. Shout out Jake Elliott.
Yeah, that's where we were wrong.
I was questioning him the whole postseason. He missed like 2 extra points and 2 field goals maybe, but the best kicker performance in Super Bowl history. So shout out to him for that. Just a dominant effort in every facet. And Jalen Hurts, very deserving of the Super Bowl MVP. As good as the defense was. He was really
Josh
good.
Sweat too. Josh Sweat, he deserves credit for what he did.
The whole defense deserves credit. And I think that's where the problem kind of arises. You can't give the MVP to Vic Fangio or the entire defense. And Jalen Hurts has outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 straight Super Bowl matchups, so good for him on that against the upcoming GOAT. And Vic Fangio. I think NFL teams are 6-0 or 7-0 in Super Bowls where they don't blitz. I'm thinking
6-0. 6-0.
I'm thinking did Tampa Bay not blitz the first time they beat Mahomes? I feel
like I think they did blitz them.
I can't remember. I remember that was the Shaq Barrett 20 sack season and Jason Pierre-Paul.
JPP.
The Chiefs'
One
offensive
hand is
line.
Just enough.
The Chiefs' offensive line was egregious that year. And then I want to say one of those Giants teams that beat the Patriots didn't blitz, I think. So if you want to win the Super Bowl, yeah, like Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan.
Yeah, Justin Tuck, man.
If you want to win the Super Bowl, get a really good front 4 and play coverage, and there you go. Easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. Draft 2 All-Pro corners too with your first 2 picks in the draft.
In the spirit of looking back at a week ago in our predictions, I'm gonna run through my notes. I got them all right here. I'm gonna breeze through some of the points that I made last week, and we're gonna just reflect on that. So my first note is Saquon was 30 yards short of Terrell Davis' all-time rushing record, which is regular season and postseason. He got that. That's big, even without the big game people were expecting. He did get that. So congratulations to Saquon. I talked about play action and getting Kansas City defense to bite on the run game and beat him over the. We did see some of that. The play action was very effective. I said AJ and Smitty over the top. Now, Smitty over the top was the dagger, and they got AJ over the top a little bit. On the first drive of the game, they tried AJ over the top, but that got called back for OPI, which I won't speak much on. But they did get AJ on the short crossing route in for the touchdown. That was right after the Zach Bond interception, I believe. And then I also brought up a point of, will Jalen, Sirianni, Kellen Moore, will they come into this game conservative? And I really liked the plan that they had coming into this week, where first down, that's Saquon. Second down, either play action or you get a short pass, or you just try to beat him over the top. That was kind of what for the first couple of drives, it was first down run, second down pass. And I liked that a lot. Because, if you can get a big run out of Saquon, there you go, you get it. But even if he gets 0 to 2 yards on first down, you're not too far behind schedule where you can make up for it on second down with a short pass, or you can just get the first down right on second down. Sorry if that kind of word spaghetti was a little confusing.
No, I agree. They also didn't get boxed into the like playing safe necessarily. They were being strategic more than being safe. And then when the run was not successful early, they found confidence in Jalen to pick up the yardage on, the third and mediums, the second and mediums, and you set up a third and short. You set up, a conversion on, third and medium, third and long. It's just the confidence from every level of the team, just one whole unit. It was just a masterclass of a Super Bowl. I'm almost disappointed they only ended up winning by 18 because
Yeah.
that's not indicative of the game at all. They won this game by 30 plus points.
Yeah, ignoring the box score, this was a Seahawks Broncos type of Super
Absolutely.
Bowl.
Yep.
Just complete and utter domination, start to finish. If you want your consolation touchdowns at the end, by all means, take them. But I mean, like I said, I was out on Broad Street before the final whistle was even blown. Um, some other points I brought up is how Xavier Worthy will be used. That was the guy on Chiefs offense that I highlighted. Safe to say that panned out pretty well. And one of my proudest points is, will Jahan Dotson get some looks? I thought Jahan Dotson had a very good game and he played his role perfectly. When he got traded to Philadelphia from Washington, this is exactly what I expected Jahan Dotson to come in and do. You get a decent amount of yards, you might not get the touchdown. He almost got the touchdown. I'll even credit him with it because he set up that touchdown. Put him at the 1 yard line, easy tush push for the touchdown. That is exactly the role I thought Jahan Dotson would play this season. And even though it wasn't exactly like that, he did it when it mattered most. And AJ and Smitty also get their touchdowns. It looked like a complete passing offense. Not one player had stats that'll really blow your mind, but they all had, I think, like 60 plus or something like that, and two of them got touchdowns. So that's definitely something you're going to be happy with. I talked about Dallas Goddard. Now, Dallas Goddard didn't have an insane game. He had 2 catches for 27 yards. But that's the thing. My prediction was that we're going to go to Goddard on third down situations. And to be honest, Philly didn't find themselves on third down situations too often. Um, Talked about Chris Jones, who didn't have much of an impact. I talked about everyone on defense. I mentioned Quinion, who was good in coverage because there's not a lot of stats as far as passing for Patrick Mahomes. Um, Talked about Zach Bond getting turnover. So that one I'm proud of. I'll victory lap that one. I talked about those two being X factors, but I also mentioned Jalen Carter, CJ Gardner Johnson, and Cooper DeJean, who had that pick six. And if you recall, Ryan, I did mention who my big X factor for Philly was, and that was Vic Fangio, which I totally feel like was a fair prediction, and I feel like that panned out pretty accurate.
Yeah, the Vic and Coop up for White Boys of the Year. um,
Shout
it's
out Grant Calcaterra, by the way.
it's really nice to know that Vic Fangio is going nowhere for the rest of his career. Um,
Yes.
I think an underrated point that people were harping on in the beginning of the year, if you're following the sports media at all, I feel like, at least one that I saw repeated a little bit, was when Sirianni and the Eagles are bringing in these, pretty touted. I can't even say pretty is an understatement. He's bringing in these highly touted coordinators after he lost Steichen, after he lost Gannon. That got him to the Super Bowl the first time. He's reloading with really talented and well known and versed coordinators. Um, and it allowed him to kind of step back, get back to the more situational ball he wanted to play, but not have any pressure of actually like managing the game on the field, managing the plays on the field. So he stepped back, played his role. Culture is an interesting word that's thrown around a lot. Um, it's kind of weaponized and not used properly. He's a Philly culture guy, and all he really needs to do is manage the game situationally and embody the culture of the team, and rally the team. That's exactly what he does. He lets Kellen call the offense. He lets Vic run the defense. His pretty basic but like uncoachable scheme for anyone else. He did nothing exotic in this game, and he just beat the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Like,
Yeah.
unbelievable stuff. It's all an effort thing too. The effort on the Eagles side was just absolutely dominant compared to
It was too much. It
what
was
you're
too
looking
much.
at the on the Chiefs side. Yeah, just a perfectly constructed, team, beautifully orchestrated game. Howie Roseman deserves a ton of credit. I can't wait to see what he does in the offseason. Um, yeah, just a storybook ending to a perfect year, really.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect segue to talk about this offseason. I will say, just to victory lap it one more time, they look like a team who went out there in the Super Bowl and they knew they were going to win the game when Bradley Cooper had the mic in his hand. They look like a team that were bought in. They they knew what they were there to do and they believed in themselves and they probably had visions of winning like this before anyone else did. So I'm super proud of this team. Super proud of Harry Roseman. I don't know if there's any GMs that have made Hall of Fame. Do you know?
I don't know the what's the God. I can't.
'Cause
This word
I,
is so
I,
easy. I don't know what's held in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
yeah, I don't know if there's any GMs or anyone that's made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for being a GM.
Hey,
But
all I'm gonna say is Luke Kuechly wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, so I don't really care what those people have to say.
fair. Zach Bone's better than Luke Kuechly. I'm
fifth
joking,
and fifth
but
in
I'm not.
defensive player of the
I'm
year voting
joking,
this
but
year
I'm
though is
not.
kind of insane.
That was
Fifth,
a little crazy. But
fifth?
I'm
Are you out of your
again
mind?
the AP can. That's their decision. That ain't me.
He's gonna
So
be the highest paid linebacker in football next year.
yes,
Off the ball
yes.
linebacker.
But I personally believe Canton should make some room for Howie Rose. What he's done has been incredible, and he's got some big decisions to make this offseason. So I'll start off with a rumor. Um, Miles Garrett being a potential Eagle. A lot of people love bringing that up. A lot of people love the idea. Who wouldn't love the idea? Um, so I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted. My my friend who I was on Fraud Street with just sent me a picture with a cop on the Ben Franklin Parkway. I don't remember taking this picture. I do not remember taking a picture with a police officer on Broad Street.
That's hilarious.
And my friend just sent me a picture of me going like this next to a cop, grinning. I'm grinning cheek to cheek, by the way. This cop is definitely laughing at me in this picture.
That's hilarious.
But that is awesome. Man, what a night. I'm sorry. Miles Garrett has been an obvious target. A lot of people, as Miles Garrett was down in NOLA, a lot of people were, not heckling, but I guess, hinting towards him going to the Eagles. It'd be interesting. It would be hard. Of course, a deal for Miles Garrett for any team is going to be hard because, as it is, even though he requested out, Cleveland's definitely going to be hesitant to let him leave. And it's definitely going to cost whoever gets him, probably some draft stock and maybe a couple players.
I would say
Um,
see the interesting situation with the Browns here is the capital you're getting back is going to have to be from a contending team, and
mhm.
I don't know how sweet that is to the Browns. Like you really got to load up because if you're the Eagles, you're trading the 32nd overall pick for Miles Garrett. The Browns are probably looking at that and like I could trade this guy to like Atlanta for the 15th pick. That's 17 spots higher in the draft. Um,
Yeah,
so if you're the Eagles, you got to sweeten the pot a little bit. If I was my mock trade would be like the 32nd overall pick, Bryce Huff, and like a third, and maybe a future
that's,
pick, something along those lines. It's a lot.
which
Don't
I
get me
think is
wrong.
worth.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Um, only. Oh, whoa! What just happened here? We just flipped cameras.
I'm here. I'm here. Is it back? Is it
Yeah,
back?
we're good. Um, my only hesitancy with that is the Eagles draft so well.
Yeah.
I almost hate to see them give up draft capital. But it's Miles Garrett, so you can kind of throw that thought out
And
the window.
and as it is, assuming you resign some of these guys and get Miles Garrett, a lot of these people that like they don't really need to draft anybody. They don't have too many holes really.
No, that's
Don't get me wrong. Like depth is always important,
Oh yeah.
and there's always a spot to fill, especially with a first rounder. But you know, especially at the 32 spot, you could sacrifice that first rounder, keep your second, you toss in the third. For what you're getting out of Myles Garrett, I think that's worth it. Especially, you give Bryce Huff a chance to go somewhere where he can actually play again.
Yeah.
Bryce Huff didn't have really a role at all here in Philly. Um, so overall, I do like that trade. Again, you're right about how he drafts. Um, but right now, I think if you re-sign Bond, you get Myles Garrett. You have two great cornerbacks um, that are on rookie deals still. You have Darius Slay, who's coming back maybe for another year or two. Um, CJ Gardner Johnson's locked up. You got your two top wide receivers. You got Saquon on a contract, Jalen on contract. You know, you're in a pretty good spot, especially I think right now they have $3 million in cap space, and the cap hopefully will go up. I think they're in a pretty good spot, but
I will say I don't know if Darius Slay is a lock to come back. I think he said he might play another year, and I don't know if it would be in Philly. I don't know why he would leave, to be quite honest with you. That was
yeah,
just I'm just kind of echoing reports of what I saw a little while ago. Um, Obviously, who knows how truthful those are, like weeks out from the off season.
yeah,
Um, quite honestly, I don't. This is the God. I keep stumbling on these words because in my head I'm like, oh, that's certainly a word, and I'm trying to say it, and as I'm trying to say it, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a word, so I don't want to say it. That's the magic of Howie Roseman. We'll use that adjective for now. Um, he builds these teams. They're so structurally sound. You're never like losing out on a position group or a vital player like really all at once. Your biggest free agent is Zach Bond. Um, it's almost a shame he was only on a 1 year deal, because that'd be the best
yeah,
contract in football if it was any more
yep,
than that. So good luck re-signing him. But how he manipulates the cap so well with these incentivized contracts and the void years and how he structures all of that. So I'm not really worried about that, aspect of it. Your second biggest, just in terms of need, might be Mekhi Becton at right guard. He had a really solid year. Um, Obviously Jeff Stoutland. You do have Tyler Steen, who you drafted in the third round a couple years ago. Maybe you do the Cam Jurgens thing with him and slot him in next year, instead of trying to bring back Becton. Maybe you let Becton get an opportunity at tackle somewhere. If I'm Mekhi Becton, I'm not leaving. But
yeah.
money talks. He's an absolute mammoth of an offensive lineman, and he proved he can play at the NFL level after those troubled years with the Jets. Um,
I do think Mekhi Becton would take a pay cut to stay in Philly,
I
to be
agree.
honest,
I agree. Um,
because his career was really in the mud. If you're
yeah,
getting ran out of the Jets organization, you know that career was
yeah,
it,
wasn't great.
it was unfortunate. It looked bad for a minute, and I remember how much you know he was getting heckled by Jets fans and stuff like that. The back and forth online that he would have with fans, and how much he talked about loving being in Philly and on a real team, real organization. His quote.
Yeah,
Um, that might not even be an exact quote, so I also don't want to misquote him. But he had hard feelings leaving the Jets, and I know that he was very happy being with Stoutland, being with a team that he felt like he was being used properly with. Uh, they coached him up and moved him to the guard. That was big. I'd be shocked if he didn't take a pay cut. But with that being said, what you said is right. Now that other teams might throw in some more money, you never know.
also maybe you look at a guy that's 6'8" or 6'7" and however big he is, 360. You're like, that surely that guy's a tackle. Maybe it's NFL teams. He worked at guard. Why not? Why bother moving him back to tackle and trying to project
Yeah,
that? He just had a career year at guard. So, um, and guard, becoming an increasingly more important position across the league. Really, really highly paid position. So that's my only question about it. He was really solid this year. And then your next biggest group of free agents is two guys on the defensive line, Josh Sweat, who just had an amazing Super Bowl. And Milton Williams, who also had an amazing Super Bowl.
Yep.
I think the situation with the edge rushers is interesting. Josh Sweat was awesome, but he's a pretty. I'm doing it again. Oh my god, my brain's not working. I need a thesaurus right now. You know, he's got a pretty good reputation at this point. He's produced at a high level for a while. I could definitely see him getting a good deal in free agency. And man, Milton Williams was an Energizer bunny on the inside for the pass rush and really showed up in the Super Bowl. I'd really like to bring him back. I think the way the Eagles have drafted and developed edges over the year, and you're in the conversation with Myles Garrett. I think maybe you could afford to lose Sweat, and it's tough saying after the Super Bowl performance he had, but
Yeah.
I would maybe
He's gonna want
value
more
Milton a
money.
little bit. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
those
it
are
is
about the
tough.
extent of the decisions you have, which is
Yeah,
not a lot.
yeah. Which is not, all things considered, and considering what you do have, guaranteed for the future of this team, you're definitely happy. You're definitely excited. I'm excited. I don't like saying this. I know it's been debated all morning. I think it's too soon to even think about this, but people are talking about, the next potential dynasty being in Philly. I would love that. There's a lot of work to do to make that happen. Um, but I trust Howie Roseman as much as I could trust anybody. I'm super excited. This Friday, happy Valentine's Day to our viewers, but for our Philadelphia enjoyers, I'm gonna be out there on Broad Street for the parade, hoping for an awesome time. Hopefully, it's not too cold and packed. Well, it'll be packed. I know, and I'm gonna enjoy it being packed. But super excited, and I'm excited to have internet debates where I can, at the end of the day, say that my team is Super Bowl champions.
We got a nosebleed. Fuck.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Little James Harden moment right there.
God damn it. I might leave that
Yeah,
in.
might have to. Can't have shit on bracket coverage, man. All right. So yeah, going into this next season, talked about the Eagles and what needs to be addressed, really, the possibilities. So then we also in turn have to talk about the departure of Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator, now has a coaching job down in New Orleans where he won the Super Bowl. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. He's gonna be coaching Derek Carr, who was once his opponent in college. Fresno State versus Boise State. Kellen Moore killed
Mountain
them.
West rivals right there.
Yep, yep. Kellen Moore killed them, but now, he's going to be the head coach. Derek Carr is going to be their starting quarterback. Well, probably the starting quarterback. We can assume, unless there's some drastic changes made, or if they get somebody in the draft. I don't know. There's a lot still left to figure out about next season, especially for Kellen Moore and the Saints. But yeah, that's definitely going to be something important. Ryan, what do you think of
I was
for New Orleans?
I was flaming. We were flaming the Saints for a while, kind of wondering they're just biding their time, waiting around, not aggressively, um, entertaining many head coaching, candidates. But I guess they were waiting around for Kellen, and I think it's a good hire. Um, it feels like a century ago the Saints started off the year with two 40-point games in a row.
Yep.
Um, and
Who ended that? What happened with that?
yeah, that was weird time. Yeah, good
That
for.
Eagles Saints game is really funny to look back at too.
I was watching it in the car driving back from Virginia. Um, I vividly remember that. Yeah, so interesting. Happy for Kellen. Jalen Hurts gets his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years in the NFL, and sixth in 6 years if you span back to college. Um, so the Sirianni call plays. I don't know if you want that, but I think at this point you have the talent to kind of supersede Sirianni's play calling abilities. Is it a promotion from inside the staff that you have already, or does he try to snag an up and comer and try to drag him through the ranks here? Um, I'm honestly not entirely sure. I don't know if there's any word on what they're thinking about doing yet. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good hire for the Saints. Unfortunate for the Eagles, but he came here for 1 year and did what he needed to do.
Got the job done. Gotta respect what he did in his short time here in Philly. He was a great coach here. He's got a lot to work on over in New, but I have no doubt in my mind that he'll be a coach. He's seen what he's done uh, with Dallas, with Los Angeles, with Philly. He's definitely been building up the resume for a bit, and now, he gets to run the show over in New Orleans. I'm excited for him, and I truly hope he does good. The next, what's the next order of business here, Ryan?
I just think finishing up the prospective segment here, post
Yeah,
Super Bowl. I just want to touch on the Chiefs a little bit. Um, we did the kind of free agency outlook off season plan for the Eagles a little bit. This Chiefs team needs some work. The entire offense looks like patchwork to me. Your starting receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hollywood Brown. At least those aren't your three starters because Xavier Worthy's in there. But those are like three significant
can't forget Rashee
contributors.
Rice.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Rashee Rice will be there. So Worthy and Rice is a nice duo. And I think Noah Gray is probably your starting tight end next year, which you could do a lot worse than that, to be honest with you. I think he'll be fine. The defense, I don't think is your problem. You have questions every offseason about what's going on with Chris Jones. He's getting up there in age, but you do have young talent on the defense. It's, I think their team is not built to the way they want to play football, at least the way they've been gearing to play football. And you thought they were maybe, inching towards that with the development of Pacheco, and then he gets injured, and kind of the whole thing falls apart. The offensive line did not hold up. Now, it's not the offensive line from 5 years ago when they played Tampa Bay. You still have all pros on the interior of your offensive line, but you have no tackles and you have no running game. And you want to control the clock and play possession. Injuries happen. You have a super aging tight end. You can't always rely on the passing game. Mahomes threw for under 4,000 yards for the first time in his entire career this year. And you didn't have a super successful, passing game to boot. The defense is, the defense is there. It will not get worse. Spagnuolo's going nowhere. But the offense definitely needs help. The interior offensive line, I think, is a great thing to build around. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes. But, you want to play the possession game. You want to play low-scoring games. You need a running game, and you need tackles to help you protect the ball. And, you get Rice and Worthy is a good duo. You need some better complementary weapons in there. I would, the running back class in free agency this year is not great. It's not, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry good, which really transformed those three offenses and teams this past season. So maybe they draft a guy at 31. Maybe you look. I don't know if running backs really get traded in the league anymore, but maybe you look for a guy, first or second round, loaded running back class. That's kind of thing I would look at with tackle for the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs. Sorry, I had to step away. My roommate was knocking at my door, but the Chiefs. I don't know. It's difficult because at the end of the day, it is Patrick Mahomes, and they've been to all these Super Bowls and AFC Championship games consecutively. It's tough to rule them out completely, but if you're looking at roster construction solely, you know, ignoring the context of the last few seasons, it's almost shocking how we're not seeing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and even the Bills getting won by them here and there. It's pretty surprising to me, and how they keep finding a way is definitely impressive. But now that someone's finally caught up to them and beat them in the Super Bowl again, um, other than Tom Brady, you really got to look at the construction of this team and really start about filling those holes. Um, I like what you said about Noah Gray. Um, Kelsey is something that needs to be addressed because I think he should probably think about retiring
It's
right about
time.
now.
If
But
he doesn't, I actually think he's genuinely hurting the team. Um,
he might be holding him back.
at
He
the
might be
very
holding him back.
worst, he needs to take a massive pay cut. Massive pay cut.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't be a starter next year.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I stand with Kelsey. Um, I, I think there's some holes on the defense, but your defense just held teams to like what 19 points a game this year or something. I don't think it's really a problem. You need
Yeah, it's
tackle,
not.
you need running back, you need receiver, you need complementary pieces, and you got to find a way to manage this money a little bit better because Jawan Taylor's getting $80 million and $20 million a year to be really bad.
One thing I do want to bring up that I saw on Twitter. So, nothing good comes from looking at Twitter. But I was looking at some of the discussions within, again, Chiefs media. What do Chiefs fans talk about before the game, after the game? After the game, I've seen some Chiefs fans really, express their frustration with Travis Kelsey and what they really didn't like about him and what they saw from him during the game that they really didn't like. And these are real Chiefs fans who have probably been watching the Chiefs, since pre-Alex Smith and everything. Like the real Tony Gonzalez Chiefs fans. And, they're arguing with these Swifties now. And, there's a clear frustration that they're arguing with these people that are, defending tooth and nail Travis Kelsey's every single play, decision, everything.
Dude, that whole
And
situation is kind of wild.
it is insane because me personally, as an Eagles fan, like if Taylor Swift started dating someone random on the
Isn't
team,
she from PA?
she is from PA. She
Yeah,
grew up.
like
I'm pretty sure she grew up an Eagles fan.
yeah.
But if she ever started dating like Nolan Smith or N'Kobe Dean, and one of them has a bad game, and I criticize the game that they just had, and a bunch of Swifties are gonna tell me I'm wrong about guys, I would be incredibly frustrated.
Yeah,
I would
I'd
be,
be
and I
irate.
wouldn't tolerate. I
Yeah.
personally would not hear that from someone. If I see a bad play from, if I'm going far enough to critique my own player, a player of a team that I am a fan of, because they did something that either wasn't a good football play, was just being a bad teammate or something along those lines. If I make that criticism, if I'm that critical about my own star player who's done so much for my own franchise that I've been a fan of, and some music fan is gonna come in and be like, "Well, actually, don't talk about him like that." Livid, unbelievably mad. So I do sympathize with the true, you die hard Chiefs fans because a lot of these newer Chiefs fans are really insufferable.
It is kind of a crazy 180. I remember when the Swifties were kind of getting into football and stuff like that. All the jokes were going around about how they were going to learn the game and learn formations and all this other stuff, and out of nowhere they're going to be like football masterminds just because their devotion to like keeping tabs on everything in that circle. It was funny. To me it's always kind of been a non-issue, like a thing in the background. Um, but yeah, this whole debate about something that you can just, if you have eyes and saw what happened on the field, it's not debatable.
Yeah,
It's a non-debatable thing. He had a bad game. He was showing pretty piss poor effort throughout. One of those plays Mahomes is running for like 10 years. He gets a first down, gets called back for holding. Kelsey's like standing still for like 10 seconds. It was
yeah.
ridiculous.
That is the exact play that I saw them
Yeah.
arguing about because everyone was like, "I'm out on Kelsey after this. This was unbelievable." Which, by the way, I don't care that there was a flag. That was the main argument I saw.
Yeah.
Swifties really. If your quarterback is running for his life, he doesn't know that there's a flag, and the defense does not care that there was a flag. All they see is a free hit on your quarterback,
Yeah.
your friend, the man that you have won 3 Super Bowls with, and you are going to stand there and watch him take a free shot. You're not a good teammate. That's terrible effort. that is something to be ashamed of. And I think I'll be so honest. If I'm Travis Kelsey, I'm rewatching that game, very, very, very ashamed because he looked like a shadow of his past self. Like he was bad, and that it's a terrible look on his legacy and his career when you have a game. The sportsmanship was bad. The way he left the field, the way he carried himself, the entire second half was something to be ashamed of, genuinely. And if the Swifties find this, they're gonna dox me. But uh, I personally, I think that's a little ridiculous. And just because you're a fan of his girl, fan of him, he is still gonna be subject to criticism. Like I said, I talk about how much I love Jalen Hurts and have supported him for so long. But if he has a bad game, I'm still there, and I'm like, hey, he had to play better. Even on that interception he threw in the Super Bowl, it's like that was underthrown, might have gotten hit. That was a bad interception. He just because he's Super Bowl MVP, he is not immune to critique. He had by no means a perfect game because perfect game. Nick Foles might have, but that's whatever. Um, I just found that discussion very interesting, and I'm not sympathizing with fans of a team who has won so much in the recent years, but I do sympathize with that because if you're having a discussion within your own fan base, and these people who have been, you know, they really are bandwagons. They've been fans,
They just
been fans
spawned
of
in 2 years ago.
yeah, they've been only watching the NFL for the most part. Some of them, I'm not going to make a blanket statement like that, but some of them may have been watching the NFL for longer. But more than not, these Taylor Swift fans have been only watching football in general for the last 2 years. And to have a discussion about something that is pretty indisputable, you're looking at the film, and that'd be a very frustrating discussion. You just watched your team lose, and then you have to have that online. Oh man,
Yeah,
my heart does go out to him.
I think I think Shadow of his former self kind of just encapsulates his performance of this game. He was, he was labeled a diva. He was fiery. He was passionate. He went out there and made effort plays all the time. This game was the polar opposite of that. We knew he lost a step, but he was, antagonistic. He didn't have the fire. He didn't have the passion. And he just, flat out had a bad game. Take all the antics and, or semantics and stuff like that out of it. He just had a bad football game. And it's, kind of a sad way to go out, especially the connection he's developed with Mahomes over the years and the dominance he's had in the postseason. He'll even start this postseason off with a big game against Houston. But yeah, I don't think he has it anymore. I don't think he has it mentally anymore. Um,
I think
and
McQueen is fading.
yeah, I think McQueen is fading. Where Jason went out on top, kinda. Um,
More or less.
yeah, I think this is kind of a unceremonious end for
Yeah,
Travis Kelsey.
yeah,
I
and it's
I
kind
think I
of
hit on the
ironic.
thesaurus right there that time.
Hey, there we go, there we go. I do think if this were like his last game or the last like big highlight of his career, I guess not, I guess low light, but when you look at this at the end of his career, kind of bring it back to the start of his career, back when he was in Cincinnati, all the concerns you had, you know, it it's kind of like when the going gets tough. Um, Everything was great. You're winning, and everyone loved that fiery spirit that he brought. And but it's always been there. He shoved Andy Reid last year or 2 years ago, I forget,
Oh
in
yeah,
the Super Bowl
right.
when they were struggling to get it going. And what happened? It got ignored after the game because they won.
Right.
So now that they lost, and especially in the fashion they did lose, completely dominated, and the way he was continuously acting, you see that frustration boiling over time and time again throughout that game. it's tough. It's tough, especially because he's not been producing at all at the level we know him to be at throughout the season, and especially not in this game. Strictly on the field too.
Yeah.
Just he has not been performing.
Yeah, so
Um,
I think comparing the direction of these two teams, they both have questions to answer. They both have moves to make. I think the Chiefs are in a much more interesting spot because you got some cornerstones of your roster that you might have to
need
bite
to,
the bullet and make them depart. Addition by
yeah,
subtraction sort of thing. Um, Still a talented team, still elite coaches.
yeah.
They will
By
probably
no
not be
means do
going
I think
anywhere. Right.
by no means do I think they're going anywhere. I think they'll be back in the playoffs next year, and who
100%.
knows? They could come back and win the Super Bowl again. I'm not ruling them out by any means, but there's a lot to address. There's some big conversations that need to be had, and you know, it, as far as talking about the future, Eagles and Chiefs, there's definitely one side you would want, and
Yeah.
you know, as much as you can believe in Mahomes, there's a lot of belief going on in Philly.
Very enjoyable Super Bowl. I think, well, for us at least, I know a lot of people were
Yeah,
bored.
not for everybody.
Um, I'm just not even gonna entertain people that said the halftime show was bad. By the way, you're out of your mind. Like just point blank. Period. You're out of your mind. Um, yeah. So I think next time I want to do a mock draft post Super Bowl mock. Get a little new overlay going. We'll alternate off picks.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll do those occasionally. Mix it up with the overlay. There's some other things I want to do. We'll get into college basketball too, probably a decent bit. Anything big happens in the NBA, we'll take a look, but probably not. Probably be NBA playoffs would be like the only
Hmm.
thing I'd be willing to cover the NBA to be honest. Um, so yeah, turn the page on this NFL season. We'll get into off-season stuff, mock draft stuff, um, once every
All of
week or
that.
two. Yeah, so hopefully keep it going.
Yeah, I
Very
do want to
very nice end to the
real.
year,
I
football
do
season.
really, real quick, want to show off this T-shirt I got. Shout out Milk Boy on Chestnut here in Philadelphia. I got this Philadelphia Eagles Miller Lite, and on the back we got Broad Street to Bourbon Street. I don't know if you guys see Broad to Bourbon. It says "Go Birds," but like the Louisiana that whole thing on how's
the
it spelled?
Joe
GE.
Burrow jersey, yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, you know what I mean. Shout
EAUX.
Yep, shout out Louisiana. It says "Go Birds" in both normal and whatever that is. I wish I knew
Whatever
what it
that is.
was.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is either.
I feel bad saying it like that, but I'm just uncultured. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was awesome grab that I got on Friday. Um, Shout out to the Super Bowl MVPs back here. We got Jason Kelsey there. It'd be nice if I got to hear from all of them on Friday at the parade. Um, but yeah, until next time, that's all that's new. Go Birds, man.
Go Birds. I held up my end of the bargain. I shaved my head.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
feeling I'm feeling 10 years old again.
What a throwback. As promised, I did not shave my head. Um, but yeah, great season, great Super Bowl for us, and yeah, can't wait till next time. Until then, like I said, go Birds.
Hitting the little Josh Sweat. Peace out.
Peace.